it's so wonderful to have all of you here. I'm Casey Rogers. I'm the founder and CEO of Telea Insights. And welcome to the inaugural Telea Talk. So you're a special group because this is the first time we've done this. And Telea Talks are really all about connection and inspiration. That's what we're offering up tonight. And hopefully that's what you'll feel like you received. So I will just tell you very briefly that Telea Insights is a firm that accelerates social impact. And that really deserves a bigger story. And the bigger story and the inspiration behind Telea Insights really comes from an experience in Namibia in Southwest Africa over 20 years ago. And it's very connected to a young girl named Thuli. So I was working as a teacher in Namibia at the very start of my career. And I was in my very, very small apartment when there was a knock on the door. And I answered the door, and standing in front of me was a teenage girl. I didn't know her. And she said, "Miss, please, do you have any work for me?" And in that minute, my head is racing. She's a student, I'm a teacher. Is this appropriate? What work do I have for her? How much do I pay her? Who is she? But in that moment, I knew the only right answer was yes. And from then, Thuli and I have formed a friendship. She's now a 36-year-old woman living in Windhoek in the capital of Namibia. She is a mother of two, and she just launched a business of her own, a beauty salon. And I tell you the story of Thuli because it was in that moment of saying yes that I realized we all have a capacity to connect to other humans, to problem solve together, and to bring our own capacity and resources to bear. Fast forward 20 years, and I've spent my career in the philanthropic sector, primarily working for funders, high net worth families, trying to take a vision and make it real in the social impact space. And Telea Insights really, rolls all of that up together to be able to do that on a grander scale. And I believe that there's so much inspiration in this world, but it's sometimes hard to access it. And I found myself in many gatherings and at many tables where there's a lot being discussed about finance and real estate and da-da-da-da-da. And the human stories or natural stories aren't necessarily coming to the center of our tables. And the Telea Talks are really an opportunity to shine a light on stories that are about inspiration and that are about possibility. And for all of us in this room to be able to take those stories out into the world with us. It's one of the reasons that we're filming tonight, because it doesn't seem right if only 25 people get to hear Kristina's story. And even though Kristina's been written up in People and she's been on the Today Show and all of this, we want to be able to take her story out into the world more broadly. So thanks for indulging the filming. So without further ado, I'm excited that we all get a chance to hear Kristina McKean's story. And Kristina and I met about 3 years ago. We were introduced by a friend, Olivia Joffrey. And at the time, I was in the early days of launching the Ellen Fund, which is focused on conservation for endangered species. And it was sort of like, whoa, who are you and who are you? And we need to know each other because we're working in the same space. And you have two daughters, and we have two daughters. And you grew up in the Midwest, and I grew up in the Midwest. So we had all these interconnections. And I've just been really impressed by Kristina's tenacity. No is not a no, it's just a not yet. And her passion and drive is just so alive in her to work on behalf of animals that it's really what propels her forward. So welcome, Kristina.
Thank you. So everyone knows now I'm Kristina McKean, the owner and founder of the Elephant Project. And I started this journey a long time ago, over 20 years ago, my husband and I actually were in Thailand on our honeymoon. And the last couple days we were in Bangkok, which was not my favorite place in the world, but I saw a baby elephant in the street, and you could take a picture with the elephant, and you could, pay, I think, to have it paint you a picture or something like that. And so I actually took a picture of my husband with the elephant. So I would never forget, and I didn't. But I was overwhelmed by this, and I felt like it was so wrong and didn't know what to do about it. It was before social media or anything like that. So I came back and I was like, I can't not see this or not do something about it. So I think when you have a calling, it becomes who you are. It's so strong that you don't ignore it. Becomes your life, and that's the only way I can explain it. But so I started protesting the circus and trying to align myself with people who felt the same way I did. And I learned about the plight of the elephant, which was more devastating than I actually realized, and different depending on where the elephants were. The elephants in Africa go through, a lot of abuse, but it's, a lot of the trophy hunters and the poaching for ivory, and the conflict between the human-animal conflict was a huge part of it. And then in Thailand, it was a lot of just the abuse. I didn't realize it was so terrible to ride elephants, and I learned why. It was a horrible practice. I learned that the elephants there are more docile, so they're being sold into zoos and circuses. And I was like, I have to help them, whatever I can do. So I didn't know what that would be for a really long time. And so I was protesting the circus and all these places. I felt like the people that were most affected by the abuse and what we were saying were the young kids, to be honest. I felt like the older generation just was so set in their ways. They didn't want to listen. They didn't really care. But the young kids were like, wait, what is going on? Why is this happening? So I was like, that's kind of my market. And I had a background in product development and design from the Gap. And my market was the tweens in that, making fun accessories and clothing for them. But I still didn't know what to do. And it kind of happened in a weird way. I saw a German Shepherd, an old German Shepherd on Facebook once. It was my birthday, or it was a couple days before my birthday. And they were like, he's going to be killed this afternoon if someone doesn't rescue him. And I was like, I have to rescue him. So I called my husband who was playing golf, and I was like, I found this dog I'm going to rescue, okay? And he's like, okay, sounds good. And I was like, did he just hear what I said? I was like, really? I'm like, I'm going to bring him home to our house, but I'm going to find a house for him. He's like, sounds great. And I was like, okay. I was like, cool. So I paid like $30. This woman helped me rescue this dog. I brought him home. He was bigger than my house. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this dog? He's really sweet. But I put him on a site, and someone was like, I'm going to help you find a home for this dog. And she did. And I ended up meeting her. She was amazing. And she was like, you are in this place in Santa Barbara and Montecito. There's so many resources. You are actually put here to do more. You need to do more than what you're doing. I was like, you're right. And she's like, no, you need to figure this out. And I was like, okay, you're like, kind of needed someone to push me to say that. And then one day, my daughters who were young at the time were playing with stuffed animals. And I was like, I'll make my own stuffed animal, and I'll create awareness and funds for elephants globally. And I can teach all these kids that were looking at me at the circus and zoo like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm here, that they can actually help save them, and we can be a part of the change. And also, I wanted to teach the girls that one person can make a difference. Like, we can all actually, it seems overwhelming, but we can actually all make a difference. It doesn't have to be a philanthropic toy company like I started, but whatever you do, we can make a difference, and we actually need to. So I started putting online. I got all these seamstresses from Craigslist making me, I was cutting and pasting in my horrible drawings what I was thinking. And after like a couple of years of trying to do this, I found a manufacturer, and I just launched it. I didn't think that, I knew that it was my passion to save elephants, but I didn't know that everybody else would feel the same way, or maybe not even support me. And I launched it, and right away it kind of took off. And I was like, oh, maybe this is right. Maybe the universe is telling me this is the right way to go. So, it just kind of, I started just with one cute stuffed animal named Kiki. I tried to do her name universal. I came with a poem, how she had been in a sad place, and by purchasing her, you're creating, she's going to a better place to live with you, and that you can make a difference. And I think it gave people hope too, because there's so much sadness with elephants everywhere that I wanted also to create a light that it wasn't just this horrible situation. We could actually be doing something to make a change. So she did so well that I started with another elephant named Tembo, which means elephant in Swahili. And I actually just couldn't believe just the momentum of the project. And it was just me. I'm like, how is this all happening? And it made me realize too that you just have to reach out to people because they could just say no. But a lot of times you think that so many people are doing things and they're actually not. I mean, I was emailing People magazine from my Gmail account, and it wasn't even and they were like, I'm like, can you please help these elephants in Thailand? I'm in Santa Barbara, it's me by myself with a couple of interns and my daughter's rapping on the weekends, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to make a story. And I was like, what? How does this happen? So they did a story, actually. I met this woman, Lek. She came to Santa Barbara. She actually has this movie called Love and Bananas. And a woman who works at Direct Relief was like, can you help me put this movie on? It's coming in 2 weeks. We have the Marjorie Luke Theater. Would you help us? And I was like, okay. And she's like, we have 2 weeks. We have to fill it with 400 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is going to happen. And the movie is a little sad. It talks about the crush box. And we ended up, I went to all the news places. They were like, we'll definitely film you. They filmed me. I was on, all the morning radio shows, and we sold out, which is amazing. And all these kids came, which I was also shocked. And it inspired all these kids too to create a movement, to create the Elephant Project at their high schools, at their elementary schools. And it really made me realize that I had such a strong voice for this, and whatever was moving me forward, I was going in the right direction, and that I could make a difference. The movie was really important too, because they talk about the crush box, which is really hard, but Lek was like, Kristina, people need to know what's happening. So when why you're not supposed to ride an elephant or see them in any type of entertainment is because they take them when they're babies and they put them in a cage basically and torture them for 24 to 48 hours until their spirits are so crushed that they're so afraid of people that they won't do anything else. And so I just wanted people to know, because people didn't understand why it's so important not to ride elephants. So that was really a big deal for me too. And after that, I sort of became in the community as the elephant lady. And I remember I went into the high school and they're like, oh, the elephant girl's here. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, okay, here we go. But, I don't know if a lot of you remember, there was an elephant at the zoo, little Mac, and its companion had died. And all these kids were asking me, what are you going to do about the elephant at the zoo? And I was like, oh, I don't know. What can I do? So I put a petition, a very nice petition, which was sort of been my strategy all along, although it's not really my personality to be like this. But I was like, let's encourage the zoo to send this elephant to a sanctuary. And I actually found a sanctuary where they agreed to take her. I contacted the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, which is an organization that I work with and have a partnership with, and they were like, this is what you need to do. They found someone that was willing to transport this elephant to the sanctuary, which is obviously very expensive. And I put the petition together, and I got over 200,000 signatures in 48 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the CEO of the zoo actually called me in, and I brought some people that I thought could help me support them. And they actually agreed to send little Mac to a sanctuary, but she ended up dying 2 weeks later. So, but I felt like, okay, now I really do, maybe I'm on the right track. The universe was telling me something. So I had those two little elephant stuffed animals, and I was watching 60 Minutes one day, and I saw all these big cats that were in cages in Central and South America. And it's not technically legal for them to have to be in cages. So this group of lawyers called Animal Defenders International were going down there and taking them out of the cages and sending them to sanctuaries. So I was like, oh, I have this great platform, I'll help support them too. So I started a lion, stuffed animal, and ended up miraculously branding myself. I found this lawyer and I was like, can you help me brand myself? And he's like, okay, what do you want to do? I'm like, save us. And he's like, that's going to be impossible. I'm like, well, let's try. And I did it. And so now I'm Save Us, the brand, and been able to expand. And it's been an amazing experience. I actually, Jody and Oliver have one of their dogs, but I saw also a dog, a group of women that were from London that were going and pulling these dogs off the trucks. They're called slaughterhouse survivors in China. And I was like, I love the people that are on the ground doing all the hard work, because I don't know many people in this world that would dedicate their lives to, like Lek, who's in Thailand, and she's going on her truck to save these elephants, and these women who are literally following meat trucks and pulling dogs off. I'm like, I actually would do that, but I can't. I mean, I don't know if I would actually dedicate my life to these great efforts these people are doing, but I want to be able to support them and educate everyone else that this is going on and we can all be a part of the change. So I have a dog coming out this fall, which I'm really excited about. She's really cute. But so that was, it's been an amazing journey for me. I've learned so much. Also, I've learned that sometimes people don't answer you, but eventually sometimes they will. And I've just felt like I've always thought I'm going to shoot for the stars and see what happens. And amazingly, so many people respond. I did a collaboration with this brand called Chantakai last year by reaching out of my Gmail account too. And we did this cute little outfit for Earth Day, and we got it into Vogue and all these crazy things, and it sold out in 8 hours, which was shocking. But I was like, there is a market for that. They're gifts that give back, but they're also teaching all of us that we can make a difference. And it doesn't have to be some huge corporation that's making a difference. We can make a difference with our voices and our actions. And, I tell everyone to, if you're traveling somewhere, people always ask, is it okay to ride camels? I'm like, probably not. You need to research. If you have the ability to travel to all these amazing places, then you have the responsibility to make sure that you're doing ethical practices, whether it's with the animals or the beaches or whatever, the people that live there. So I think that's been a really important lesson for me too. I, in January, went with my older daughter to Thailand to stay at the elephant sanctuary that I supported. And I actually did a baby stuffed animal named Chaba after a real live elephant that they had rescued with her mom a couple years ago. And so it was just, everything came full circle, because I was really able to see not only that this elephant that I helped rescue, that she was flourishing there, which is amazing. And I have some footage of that, but it's this 400-acre place of all these beautiful rescue animals, or animals actually. There's like 2,000 dogs there too, cats, water buffalo, monkeys, you name it. But the beautiful part was that all these animals were so loving. Like we'd be standing there and I wouldn't even realize they'd come up right behind me, and Paloma would say, "Mom, and I would look up and there'd just be like this trunk would come down and kind of like go over me. But they were such beautiful, gentle giants, and I feel like, as Lex says, the elephants know they pick their people, and I really feel like they do, because I don't really know how sometimes all this is working so well, and I feel like I'm just helping them and they're helping me, and we're kind of working this beautiful way. But while we were there and experiencing this amazing place, the last day, Lek was like, I'm bringing you to across the river. And we went, they had Jane Goodall's people were there too, kind of checking out the place. So we all went over there. And so all these beautiful elephants, there's 400 of them in her sanctuary. And literally, we went across the river, and there were 51 elephants that were chained, abused, and it was completely a different situation. It was so overwhelming because, I had just left this beautiful place and literally go across the river to see like this horrific abuse where the bull elephants were just swaying the whole time because they never were free. There were chains everywhere. The owners, you're not supposed to ever, pluck elephant like eyelashes or tails because it never goes back, and they need it for survival and make sure that the bugs don't bother them. And they were just fully dressed in elephant, everything. And I was there and I was like, I can't, once you see that, for me, it's like I can't unsee it and can't turn my back on it. So I was like, I need to figure out how to rescue these elephants, because there is a place across the river, and I felt like I don't know how I'm going to do it. I was telling Casey, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have $1 million, obviously, which is cost to rescue all of these elephants, but I'm like, I can figure this out. So that's sort of been my quest since I've gotten back, is what can I do to make a difference for these elephants since they're so close? Unfortunately, the man who owned it had 5 wives, and he had agreed to let Lek take them, and then he passed away. 4 of the wives are fine with them going across the river to Lek's, but one is really resistant, and she wants more money. So that's sort of the conflict there. But, that's been my passion. So I've just been on a road to make sure that I can find a way to make it happen for them. But it was an amazing journey, and I'm super grateful for Casey for all of your support, and everyone for being here and supporting me through the years. Pedro's done amazing. Everything I ask, I'm like, I have this project, can you help me? And he always says yes, which is really nice, because I know you have a lot of requests. So I appreciate that. Everyone who's been so incredibly supportive of me in this journey, and the elephants. I realize it's not everyone's passion to save the elephants, but I am really appreciative of everyone who supports my passion to make a difference. So thank you.
What do you want to leave us with? I think people's hearts are touched. You brought some things to mind that maybe not everybody was intimately aware of. But in this room, with a lot of passion, what would 2 or 3 things be that you really want as sort of to leave us with?
Most importantly, I think it's really important to use your voices, and a lot of people don't know. I'm always like, take the elephant ride off your bucket list. If there is no market for elephant rides and the roadside zoos and the Renaissance fairs, then, that will die off, and there won't be a market for those kind of elephants in captivity. And, a lot of people are like, how can I do it? I'm like, just your voices are really important. And I asked Casey too, I'm like, and she's like, also to connect with people who may know of resources to help the other elephants too. Because, a lot of time I do this work and I don't think of kind of expanding my universe because I'm so busy doing it. But I know that's, fortunately.
You gotta raise your million.
Yeah, I have to raise my million. Yeah. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff, but I figure it is important. It's not for me, it's for the elephants. And I want to help those people too that are doing so much to make a difference for them. Like Lek, she's such an amazing person that, I feel like, obviously $1 million is a ton of money, but for a lot of people in this community or people that people know, it's not as much if they're, just keep that path sort of open, I think, for that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I just encourage people to support ethical travel, all these kind of small things can make such a big difference, rescue dogs, the shelters are full, there's so many things that we can do. I've done 15 podcasts since I've been back from Thailand, and the final thing is, what can we do? I'm like, you don't need to start a philanthropic toy company. This is something I knew how to do, or was something that I could do, but I think there's so many fights to fight right now. I always say, I'm like, pick a fight. There's so many people in need. There's the climate crisis, the environment, there's elderly people and children. There's a million things that we could all do collectively to make such a big difference in the world. So I think that was sort of my parting words, is that we can all make such a big change. So
super well.
Thank you.
Thank you to Kristina.
Yeah. Thank you.
As I said at the very beginning, Telea Talks are an opportunity for connection and inspiration. And if I were to say what your takeaway is, it's to take a story that you heard here tonight out into the world, to tell it to 2 or 3 or more people in a way that you hope will touch their heart and bring forward some of these ideas about passion, about activation, about problem solving and potential, and spread it, right? We're just a few people here, but many things have started with just a few people. So I thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being the inaugural group, and enjoy the rest of the evening together.